opening bell, the 16th of September. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Let's get started as we move on. Thank God it's Friday, everyone, to all of you. And of course, you can see the numbers all reddish for the Thursday trading day. The Nigerian market saw a sell down in the banking space. Access called Dangote Sugar. The stock market fell by 0.07%. A lackluster week ending today on the Nigerian markets in Lagos. The BRVM lost 10 basis points yesterday, holding up on the composite around 204 reading in Cote d'Ivoire. The EGX, the Egyptian market, closed for the weekend Thursday by 1.14%. The Nairobi Bourse fell much sharper, roughly 3%, and the GSC, the biggest securities market on the continent, down by 0.6%. And that gives you just a summary of yesterday's trading day. A number of markets across the continent wobbled a little bit, just as we begin to see global investors get a little more concerned about the state of the global economy and expectations on interest rate direction flagging up from the U.S. Next, we're going to see from more central banks across Africa. Then, of course, inflation, which is getting everyone head scratching. Let's get on to the East African corridor with the latest news. Of course, it's already no longer news that the Kenyans are now waking up to a new fuel prices with the removal of subsidy on petrol. But KenGen and Toshiba's ESS have joined in forces to bring on stream a geothermal power plant in East Africa. KenGen, which is Kenya's power generating number one company and listed on the Nairobi Bourse, is also doing a number of geothermal drilling in Ethiopia. In the meantime, the Kenyan authorities have been rattled by the rejection by Britain of the new East African Community export tariffs. The new administration of President William Ruto will have to lead a team back to the UK to discuss with the new UK Prime Minister and her team, Liz Truss, about the East African Community export trade. East Africa, led by Kenya, has a strong export relations with the United Kingdom, and Kenya is at the top of that. An Ethiopian's Prime Minister Abiy has been awarded the Laureute 2022 Laureate of Global Islamic Finance. Despite the civil war and insurrection in the Tigray region, which is ongoing, Prime Minister Abiy has been going through a number of reforms in the financial services sector, and all of that still being recognized despite the country's internal crisis and civil war by this 2022 laureate in global Islamic finance, expanding the frontiers of Islamic banking and other services in one of Africa's biggest and most populated economy, 110 million, Ethiopia. And Rwanda's exotic exports went up roughly 44%. That's about 650 million US dollars in the 2021-2022 fiscal period for the East African landlocked economy. Let's check into West Africa, where Nigeria and Ghana's inflation came on stream yesterday. Ghana came red hot, 33.9%. Food inflation was about 34% across the region, including core, urban, rural, as well as imported inflation. Ghana's inflation was reading average of 30%, as well as the currency, which is got a bit of a tapering because of the $600 million that the Bank of Ghana sold into the market, into the forward FX market. That tempered exchange rate of the cedi to the dollar to about 10.05. AZA Finance reported yesterday, Thursday, that there will be further pressure on the cedi moving forward, but some analysts on the ground in Accra believes that $1.5 billion Cocoa Board funding will come in very soon, as well as other funds which will help the Central Bank of Ghana save the cedi from further decline, which down roughly 40% since the start of the year, under intense pressure more in the last 3 months. And Naira, according to AZA Finance report yesterday, says is not likely to cross the 710 Naira threshold against the greenback in the near term. That's according to AZA Finance, as the Central Bank of Nigeria also continue to use every available means to keep the Naira exchange rate to the dollar on hold, not allowing that to run away. Nigeria's inflation came in yesterday at a higher level, 20.52%. Core inflation moderated slightly. Food inflation around 24%. And the Central Bank for French-speaking West Africa, the BCIO, has raised interest rate by 0.25%. That takes the headline interest rate within the French-speaking West African countries to 2.5%. We'll see a lot more interest rate by central banks across Africa next week. And that's where we go into the Southern Africa. The South African Reserve Bank, the SARB, is expected to raise rates according to what analysts and economists are saying by 75 basis points, so 6.25%. The interest rate decision will be on the September the 22nd. Down the line of next week, around the 26th, 27th, Nigeria's central bank will be doing interest rate decision. I will expect a whole lot more. Anglo Unit, in other economic news and business, Anglo Unit says the $24 million tax dispute over royalties is threatening the operations of the country in Zimbabwe. In corporate news or in any news, headline earnings per share by FirstRand, one of the big financial banking and financial services supermarkets in South Africa, pulling in 46.68 billion rand for the full year ended June 30, 2022. Dividend is coming at a very mouth-watering 467 cents. And the banking group says it's looking at further opportunities to expand into Ghana and West Africa, as well as the United Kingdom. The power problems in South Africa is, of course, Zimbabwe is dealing with that as well. Nationwide power cuts is being handled in Zimbabwe because of deficit in power generation. Zimbabwe is looking for energy sources outside the country, into the Congo, from Southern Africa, as well as Zambia. Across the Southern African region, Zimbabwe is looking at how to resolve its energy crisis. So let's move on straight to North Africa, where Egypt's market is closed for today, the start of the weekend. The market reopened in Cairo on Sunday, by the way. The Abu Dhabi port says it's bought two Egyptian shipping companies for about $140 million, while Sanlam Insurance in Morocco reporting a net income of about 191 million dirhams in the first 6 months, January to June 2022. And Morocco says it's setting up the first green hydrogen production system. Between Morocco and Namibia, Africa is expected to come up with the first hydrogen power plant between now and 2024. Namibia in Southern Africa is also moving very strongly in that direction. And finally, UAE's Tabrid says a deal of worth about $83.4 million had been signed for contract work in Egypt's medical city. Egypt has one of the strongest medical pharmaceutical sector on the African continent and is doing quite a bit of exports as well. So you got an investment coming through from the United Arab Emirates into Egypt's medical city to support healthcare, medical equipment, as well as hospital and other services within that particular space. And that's it for today. We wish you a very happy weekend. Don't forget to go online and watch this show again on our YouTube, Frontier Africa Reports. Go on our website to read all our stories and watch other shows as well. Go on our social media on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as Instagram. I'll see you next time, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.